So do we want to just start with him since he's there?
Let's just do it. He's fine.
All right, fine. Very good. We can move things around. All right, let's bring him on now. Joining us now. We got our things mixed up. I think he thought 3 Eastern. I meant 3 Central. It's all right, though, man. It's all good. We'll bring you on to lead off the show. Join us on the guest hotline, powered by Gruber Law. One call, that's all. Hey, man, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. You said Central. That's 100% on me. I just got off the Just Baseball show, and for some reason was like, I'm late. I need to go. So appreciate you adjusting for me. You can boot me right off, and I can come back in an hour. I'm happy to do it.
I've got a Brewers topic here, and then we call Let's Talk About the Crew. No matter what's going on, we always talk about the Brewers at 3 o'clock. Our time every show. So I'll just move my Brewers topic from 2 to 3, and we'll talk about what we were going to talk about with you at 3 now. There you go. All set. Let's talk about what you do, because this is not the first time I've tried to get a hold of you. I've tried to get a hold of you one other time as well. Tell everybody about your podcast, what it's all about, because right now you got one up talking about the Brewers farm system and just how kick butt it really is.
Yeah, so we've got Just Baseball Media. We've got a website full of writers, a couple covering the Brewers actually pretty much every single day. But then also Just Baseball Show is our flagship podcast, and the call up is the prospect side of things, where that's my bread and butter. I love prospects, player development, all that side of things. So we got 2 different shows there. Just did our power rankings on the Just Baseball Show. I gave the Brewers some love, even though I know it's been a little bit turbulent for their standards. And then, on the call up, always breaking down the farm system side. Really enjoy. It's probably as fun of a farm system to break down. It's the only one that we actually had to break up into 2 episodes because the Brewers are so loaded. We did part 1 and part 2 going through the Brewers' top prospects because, again, there is so much talent and they're as good at player development as just about any organization in baseball.
I'm pretty excited. I'm going to see the Timber Rattlers tomorrow, their Class A high team, and you've got Andrew Fisher there. Pena is there, but he's not played since that incident in the dugout. So waiting to see how much longer it'll be before he comes out there and plays. So, but Fisher is there. They got a bunch of talent. And when we talk about this farm system and you talk about the major league level, right? So right now, shortstop as a whole, Joey Ortiz, no offense, right? Third base as a whole, David Hamilton is getting better. Luis Rengifo starting to hit a little bit, but you don't have anything really there either. Now, you're going to get Vaughn back here probably on Monday, Churio back on Monday as well, Yelich back later in the month. That lineup will look a million times better with those 3 bats back in the lineup, but that does not solve the left side. And I said at the beginning of the year that I thought this was just a gap year for them, that they were just trying to survive one more year on that left side. And then in 27, if there's baseball, then maybe, you see the Madeys or the Fishers or the Pratts and those guys potentially up with this baseball club at some point in 27. How do you view it?
I think Jet Williams has a chance to throw his hat, in the ring here as well. And I think it was a big part of the reason why he was somebody that they were very keen on acquiring. I mean, that was not a budge from everything I understand on the asking price of Freddie Peralta. And I know Jet Williams isn't necessarily jumped out of the gate, but from people I talked to within the Brewers organization, like from the day that he stepped onto their backfields and got involved in spring training, they were so impressed with his process and how good he is at being able to lean into his strengths. It's one of the more advanced approaches you're going to see, I think, from the second he gets up to the big leagues. And that ability to leverage his approach results in a lot of walks because it's a small strike zone, but also allows him to squeeze out the most out of his power. They're also asking a lot of Jet defensively. He's playing games at shortstop. He's playing at third. He's playing some in center, and he's yet to make an error this year. So he's got to pick it up a little bit offensively here. Nashville is not an easy place to hit. I think he will, but I think Jet Williams is also a guy that could absolutely be a contributor for this team. And even if he's not hitting to the best of his abilities right away, he's going to defend at a pretty good clip. He's going to steal a lot of bags. He's going to walk, and he's going to be a pesky out, which I know for Brewers fans, Joey Ortiz feels like kind of the opposite at times, kind of gets himself out. So it'll be a different version of, even if he's not hitting right away, I think you're going to get more quality out of the at-bats.
The crazy part about this is I don't see where he plays, because if you believe that Madej is going to be a guy, well, where's Madej going to play? Terang has 3 years left after this year. Pratt, you just gave all that money to, so you're assuming that he's going to be the shortstop. So Madej then is going to have to play at third, I think, at some point here. And then what does that mean for Andrew Fisher? That very well means that he ends up at first base. And then Burke ends up being the designated hitter potentially if he's still swinging a bat, which that means Jet Williams ends up in center field maybe after Garrett Mitchell. You're shaking your head, but I mean, it's crazy when you start talking about the talent that they have coming. And that's not to mention catcher. where I've been lobbying to extend William Contreras just because I just think he has a large part to do with how they can afford to have Burns leave and Hader leave and Devin Williams and Peralta all leave, and they just keep going. Chris Hook deserves a lot of credit, the pitching coach, but Contreras is really, really good at working a pitching staff. I don't know how good Jefferson Claro is. I don't know how good Marco Dinges is. Both can hit. I know that much. I ain't worried about that. But the working with the stats. So, I mean, they're even, a couple guys deep behind their starting catcher at the major league level right now at a position that normally is a struggle in most farm systems.
Oh my gosh. And that's why the Brewers are able to do what they do, right? And just continue the waves of talent in a way that I think, we saw the Rays doing it at their peak, but I think the Brewers are that gold standard right now. At the same time, you can't always just take for granted and say, okay, well, this young player is going to plug and play right away and it's going to work.
Right.
You're seeing former exec David Stearns struggle with that in New York. I think Carson Bench is going to be a great player for a long time, but he said, okay, we'll trade Nemo and I'll plug Benj in. And Benj is having some growing pains here. And I think it takes more than him, but I'm sure they could really use Nemo's bat in Queens right now. But the Brewers seem to do a really good job of assessing internally who are the guys that are kind of ready for that right away, and who are the others that, maybe you go out and get a vet and fill in the meantime. I think with Pratt, the floor is so high too. So he just seems like somebody that he's going to defend, he's going to put bat on ball, and he's going to run. But even then, I'm trying to figure out where does he fit in. I think Midday ends up sliding off of short anyways. The arm is so strong that at third base, it could make a lot of sense. You could also see him slide over to second. And that's a guy that if he's hitting to the peak of his abilities, you're moving everybody for him. It doesn't even really matter, right?
Okay, so let's just talk about that for a second. What then with Luis Pena?
That's going to be a fun problem too. And I also think Pena may not stick it short. So you have two guys. I love the bats. I love the speed. I love the hit power potential. I don't know if either of them are sticking it short. And I think that's part of the reason why you saw them extend Pratt. I think just anchoring a true shortstop there. Going to be a really fun problem to have, and I think a problem that every organization in Major League Baseball will welcome. But that's why when I look at the Jet Williams acquisition, to me, it screams future in the outfield, whether it is center field or even left, where his speed will be more than enough ground to cover out there. The arm will be, more than enough in either corner if they wanted to. He could probably play all three spots, and then a guy that could plug in the dirt when needed. Really, really fortuitous spot to be that the Brewers have created. And Jefferson Caro, by the way, that shoulder issue that he had was catastrophic. It was really, really rough. It took more than a year and change just to feel like he could get that strength back. And even halfway through last year, you started to see him swing the bat faster. The EV started to creep back. And now the throwing, just speed and the strength from that perspective is getting a lot better. This is a guy that was one of the best defensive catchers I saw in the fall league a couple years ago. And we've seen that go to the wayside after a really bad injury. I'm seeing him feel like himself again back there. And do you just have a really talented catching tandem here then too, where a guy Caro could probably be playing more and isn't? That might be the case. And again, it's backlogged. Really good spot to be.
Really good spot to be. Aram Leighton joining us now from Just Baseball. Again, they just do amazing work over there. I want to talk about the major league side, because you said you've talked about both sides. You do the call up, which is the minor league side. You also talk about the majors. This division, everybody has winning records right now. Yeah. Everybody. Now the Pirates, they're on a little bit of a skid, so they've fallen down to last place. I think they're at 500 now with their little losing streak. But for the most part, they're all sitting there. Earlier today, our guy that does our post-game show, Tim Allen, was on our morning show Inside Wisconsin Sports, and he said it's a 3-horse race in his mind by at the end of the year. He thinks it's Brewers, Reds, and Cubs will be battling it out at the end of September for this division. He's poo-pooing Pittsburgh away, doesn't know if the Cardinals can have staying power with this rebuild mode that they're in. They're playing really well, though. They deserve credit. Jordan Walker finally has figured out who he was supposed to be the last couple of years. And these three teams, Reds, Brewers, Cubs, I don't like the trader in Chicago for obvious reasons. Pat Murphy has won multiple Manager of the Year awards. And then Francona is awesome, right? With the Reds. I mean, these are three really good managers. And then you line them all up and go, okay, who's what? I think on paper, talent-wise, it's probably the Cubs, really, at the end of the day. But even with all the talent they've had on paper the last couple of years, they haven't been able to figure it out at the end.
I love the offense. I think anybody loves the offense that they've got right now in Chicago. But the interesting thing is going to be the pitching. You've got a really good Shota Imanaga right now, but we've seen he's kind of been a Jekyll and Hyde guy for them. And if Imanaga's struggling, Justin Steele, unfortunately, had a setback in his return. Great guy, really hoping he can come back sooner rather than later. But that's a guy you were counting on. Edward Cabrera, their big ticket acquisition, is really holding it down for them. But he's not a guy that's necessarily been an Iron Man, and he had some arm issues at the end of last year. There's been a lot of reliance on Colin Ray, Jamison Tyone.
Yep.
Matthew Boyd hasn't looked the same, but I think he'll be better. My big question with them is, does the pitching hold up? Because this is a marathon. I think that the offense and the defensive side of things is incredible. And I think the Cubs have the ability to hang in there. But I do wonder if the pitching makes things a little bit more difficult for them. I still think you could very easily point towards them being the team to beat. I agree on the Cardinals side. Like, they're young. They lack some of that pitching depth as well. And I think it'll ultimately rear its head, but really good things heading in that direction there. A big reason why I think the Brewers are just built to weather the storm, even if the offense is frustrating through stretches, is this is a marathon, right? And teams are trying to put themselves in position to have the optionable pitching that the Brewers have. Every team wants to have their fans pissed that you are sending down Logan Henderson to AAA. That's a wonderful situation to be in.
Yeah.
And that allows them to pace the workloads. Logan Henderson's never thrown more than like 120 or I think maybe even less than that innings as a pro. So that's a guy you need to pace, right? So that's a guy that now you bring back up. Quinn Friester's been banged up. Brandon Woodruff's hurt again. This is what happens to all rotations. Everyone gets hurt. So when you have this optionable pitching to where you can optimize your roster, send guys down, bring them back up, that is how you're built for the marathon. And it's why I think the Brewers are built to not fade this year.
What about the Reds?
They are in a really interesting spot as well, where I think when you look at the pitching depth, they can somewhat match that. Do they have as many optionable starters that you can rely on? No. But when you look at that rotation every single day, they have a guy that's going to give them a shot to win. I know that Andrew Abbott hasn't been great out of the gate. I'll side with the bulk sample that we've seen over the last few years. That guy just gets outs. And they're doing it right now without their two best pitchers, arguably. Hunter Green, he'll be back in the second half. It's more of a cleanup thing. I'm not too concerned about that. And Nick Lodolo is dealing with a blister. Those things can linger, but neither of those, the injuries between the two, I think are things that you say, well, they might not be back at form when they come back. I think they will be. It's just going to be a matter of when. Chase Burns looks like, a potential star, and Rhett Lauder is healthy and holding it down. Their pitching is going to keep them in this thing, but their hitting, that's where it gets a little bit tough.
Yep.
However, Elly De La Cruz looks like he's on his star arc now. Sal Stewart has been one of my favorite prospects for a long time, and I don't think he's going anywhere. I think this is going to be an all-star bat for them. And they don't need to acquire a star, right? If they go acquire a couple league average bats, that's going to help keep this offense afloat. I mean, they've got some guys that are just really weighing them down offensively. I think that they are a tough team that's going to hang around. And I do agree with the three-headed, monster here and kind of the race in that side, because I think right when the Reds may start to fade a little bit, boom, shot in the arm with Lodolo, boom, shot in the arm with Hunter Green. And that might be all they need to stay in this hunt.
We got to get Aram back on, man. You're good. You're good. You're good. You're good. You're good. Aram Leighton, again, Just Baseball. Go follow him on social media at JustBB_media, at JustBB_media. Aram on X at Aram Leighton 8. Why did you pick 8?
I was back when I was in high school still. I was playing baseball.
That was your number?
And that was my number. And for whatever reason, I don't know why I didn't just go with the regular Aram Leighton. And then now I don't think I can use that.
No, you just got to leave it now. Yeah, you've had it forever. You got thousands and thousands of people following you. Don't change it now. Just leave it alone. Thanks so much for coming on, man. We'll get you on throughout the season.
Thanks for adjusting for me. I appreciate you guys having me.